Good morning, Steve. Ray Alba says, you can just have the pets. We don't even need the weather. Come on, Ray. Are you kidding? T-Rex, what do you have to say about that? He says, I like what Ray has to say. Yeah, we're the star of the show. What is this? The rare, no air, moving from high to low pressure. Steve is in attack position. What do you see, Steve? I see an inversion is what I see. When you have midwinter chill and snow on the ground and cold water and no pressure gradient, you get a decoupling of the atmosphere, and that's why it goes calm in the cooler layer near the surface of the earth. Even though there's more wind up in the sky, the cold air is more dense. And there's a cloud on our horizon. It's amazing just how pretty it is right here. I woke up early and couldn't even see the moon. We had a little front go through here last night, but it's 0 isobars. Here's the surface map. Look at that. There are isobars to the west of New England, a little low. Actually, it's pretty strong over the Great Lakes. A little weak high to our north, another little weak high to our south, and that big ocean storm is plenty far offshore. I got the temperature map at 9 a.m. Woke up in the middle of the night and then slept late again. And you see all those crosses in New England? Those are stations reporting calm air. So one of the quietest mornings we can get. When as you look off to the west, though, many reports of winds, Buffalo gusting to 40 miles per hour. So this is a little rare treat here with the very little wind in eastern New England. Matter of fact, it's changing before our eyes. Speaking of changing, right now, the microphone I'm using is the iPhone 15 Pro, and it's got different microphones. So as I zoom in, it changes microphones. It's now using a microphone on the backside. Isn't that pretty over there in Hull? The sunlight reflecting off the buildings, and it looks like some ice in the water. But if I talk louder, you probably hear me better, but that's annoying. So then I zoom back out, and now the microphone in the front works. And so that's an audio issue, and I'm not wearing my noise canceling because there's no wind. Anyhow, talking about how the weather is changing right before our eyes. Look at the air starting to come in from the southwest over here. So we are going to get some warmer air advection coming in today. Did I mention it's about 34 degrees right now at probably 10-15, and that cloud on the satellite image, pretty distinct. You can see the cloud coming in from the west, and you can also see the snow on the ground right over my house. For a change, we've got snow on the ground, but as Ray points out, no snow on the ground south of the Massachusetts Turnpike in Connecticut. So not an even distribution. But the snow that we have here, remember, it was kind of a surprise. We didn't really see it coming. We didn't think we'd get a couple of inches of snow. And I'd just like to make everyone aware that weather surprises happen all the time. And don't be surprised if within a week of right now, you have snow on the ground at your house. Here's the pets in the sunshine. Not looking at the camera. It is snowing in New England right now. Day 13 in a row of New England snow. It's happening at Bolton in northern Vermont, where we're going to get a few inches of snow with a combination warm front, cold front today, tonight, tomorrow. The wind picks back up. And it did snow a little bit yesterday in parts of New England. The biggest mystery of yesterday was that wind at Jay Peak Resort. Tyler Jankowski was there, and Sterling, and even though most of New England had very little wind, I think it was the northern edge of the ridge, that's what Tyler said, causing that wind off the ridge of the mountain, ridge of high pressure in the atmosphere, ridge on the mountain, the snow just blowing off the top of the mountain yesterday, so the tram and the flyer could not spin yesterday. I don't even really have a good handle on how that happened, but I do think that it's going to snow another couple of inches at Jay Peak tonight and tomorrow, but I think I'm going to go right to the big picture as we're already 4 minutes in here and talk about what's going to happen in the really big picture. This snow today, it's Monday, January 13th, and where's I going? There's a another front on the way tonight and tomorrow. Full moon day. I get a list of things in my mind I want to talk about. Full moon day, an occultation of Mars tonight. And it's the beginning of the 13th week in a row of coast-to-coast North America snow. I think that's where I wanted to go. Another little timeout here for a zoom, and I'll talk louder so you can still hear me of the ferry going across the still clear water. Clear still water? Out there in Hingham, and it looks like we have a barge, not a barge, that's a tanker incoming on the north side of Hull. That'll be going by in a little while. We'll see that on my time lapse on tomorrow's and more. So there's high pressure in Western Canada. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the record warm in Alaska. And Nukutavuk Pass, said that wrong, in Alaska is 32 degrees this morning. That is record warm in Alaska. And a lot of times when you see record warm in Alaska, that cold has displaced into Canada and the lower 48 becomes colder than Alaska. And that is the forecast going forward. Colder in the lower 48 than in Alaska on average over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, due to the ridge in the North Pacific and a trough across western United States. And that cold, heavy air out of Western Canada sinks down and pressure builds on the west coast just inland, and that's what generates the Santa Ana wind. And we have another potential disastrous wind event setting up tomorrow night in California and then again over the weekend. That's terrible. And my friend Jörg Kachelmann in Switzerland does a good job at describing it. He says it doesn't matter whether it has rained or not. It is such dry air and so much wind that the fire actually goes right through the air. And that's how homes can burn without any vegetation around them. I need to take a breath after that. I'm going to zoom in over there to the north side of Germantown, where there's also some ice on the water. Now, with the full moon today, we have very high tide, so we get a marsh flooding high tide right now and then a very low tide at dinner time, and that's when you go down and look at the ice in the marshes. Get to the forecast. I looked at both the Euro and the Canadian last night, and I didn't like either one of them. I looked at both the Euro, the GFS last night, and I didn't like either one of them. The GFS brought in a rainstorm on January 20th, opposite of what I've been thinking. And the Euro brought in cold, dry air on January 20th, different than I was thinking, but not as bad as the GFS. And then I looked at the Canadian, and the Canadian was just right, with potential snow for us on January 20th that we've been talking about sometime. So I'm going to use the Canadian in two aspects here. One, here's the weather.us website with the Shrewsbury forecast. And you can see the temperature going back down tomorrow, and it gets more windy again, stays sub-freezing, high in the 20s, low in the teens tomorrow night and Wednesday before a warm-up Thursday and Friday. Incidentally, Jörg Kachelmann owns this website too and has developed it. It's brilliant. And then it gets warmer Friday into Saturday, and then it starts maybe raining, but then quickly changing to snow off and on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into the Arctic air with snow, and it will have snowed enough that the plows will have come out, if this is accurate. And now that's the day-by-day meteogram. Now let's look at it using the isobars, the blue lines, the red lines, the H's and the L's. And here it is. We're going to go out 240 hours. It's called the Canadian, sometimes called the GEM, but on Pivotal Weather they call it the GDPS, Global Deterministic Prediction System, fancy GEM. And there is our low coming out of the Great Lakes states, and it is a wave on an Arctic front, and you'll know it when it comes through your house in northern Vermont with the wind and the squalls coming in tonight and tomorrow. Very hard snow in the upslopes of Jay Peak and Mount Mansfield, probably get 5 to 10 inches of snow. In southern New England, you see some steep clouds go by and maybe some snowflakes come out of the air, but the wind is going to pick up and the temperature is going to go down tomorrow night. Wednesday is very windy, And high pressure system is going to end up going off to our south. It's an incredibly cold high. It's going to be freeze warnings all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. But then on the backside of that high, we start to warm it up a little bit on Thursday and Friday. The wind lets up a little bit. There's another low coming in to the Great Lakes states. That's another wave on an Arctic front. And then I'm going to take it out to stop it now on as the Arctic air comes in Saturday, low to our north. Sunday, front comes through, and then I'm going to stop it on Monday, January 20th at 7 a.m. Been talking about this time for some time, and there is a batch of snow with a very weak 1019 low going south of New England, batch of snow here. And then really important, it's what's happening in the west. That 1054 millibar high pressure system over Idaho, that is pure, heavy, cold Arctic air, frigid, record cold Arctic air, and that's going to create another dose of Santa Ana winds a week from today in California. And then you have just a week low, what is that, 1,007 off the coast of Texas with all those isobars and snow. In New Mexico, that looks like a blizzard. So here it is, coast to coast snow. Coast to coast cold with snow in the deep south and the northeast. This is Monday, January 20th. And then we're going to put this back into motion for just a quick bit, and we're going to take it out now. Another batch of snow goes across southern New England and into Tuesday, January 21st at 7 p.m. And lo and behold, there's a sub-1,000 millibar storm center over the benchmark south of New England, and snow in all of New England. Rain snow line very close to Cape Cod. Now, this is going to be a fast-moving storm, so it's not one of those stalling blizzards, but that's a good-looking nor'easter, and that kind of agrees with what I've been thinking. So you find a model that agrees with your thinking if you have several choices. And by the way, the other models kind of had this yesterday but lost it last night. So that would be a multi-inch snowfall off and on Monday the 20th and Tuesday the 21st. And also out west, this incredibly strong high, and the 510, let's just take it, complete it out through 240 hours. It's just another 24 hours out to Wednesday now. This is the 23rd, 7 p.m. Wednesday, January 23rd, and this is the heart of winter, and it is cold to record cold across most of the United States. And the boundary is pretty much south of New England down to the Gulf of Mexico and along the coast in California, with another sort of wave on an Arctic front over the Great Lakes states, with it snowing over all of the Great Lakes. And boy, is it going to snow a lot over the Great Lakes. Low barometer cold right there, and that's going to be another push of Arctic air coming into New England after day 10. And so we are definitely experiencing the old-fashioned winter in the temperature sense, and maybe not in the snowfall sense. And this setup right there that I just showed does not look as much like 2015 as I was thinking a few days ago. But it's definitely going to be interesting. All right, 13 minutes. You are all so patient. Really appreciate it. Can you hear the trees being ripped out of the ground over there? No, you probably can't. Heavy equipment coming our way. Most of those trees are going to be coming down. Our view is going to be improving as they're building a structure down in the water, along the water's edge here. All right, so the weather part is over. The end more. Well, how about the moon tonight? It's a full moon today. It's called the Wolf Moon. But there's this event that they call an occultation of Mars. Think of it as an eclipse of Mars. So when the moon comes up in the east tonight, it's going to be very close to Mars. Mars and moon are going to be right next to each other. And then the moon at about 250,000 miles away is going to pass between Earth and Mars, which is 60 million miles away. And Mars is going to disappear behind the moon. And they call that an occultation. To me, it just seems like an eclipse. So you can have fun Googling all that with the timeanddate.com. That's a spectacle. Unfortunately, come to think of it, there's probably going to be more clouds than clear, so we might not be able to see the occultation of Mars tonight. Bummer. But you can watch for it on the internet. Somebody's going to have it. And yesterday, lamenting the fact that those chairs weren't open at J. Can you hear me now? I zoomed in again on a new construction going on over there at Fort Point with the ice on the rocks. And the ice, by the way, is going to get thicker before it gets thinner. And I went and measured ice yesterday I cut a hole in Whitman's pond where every time we get good ice, it snows and you have to shovel the pond. Anyhow, the pond ice was 5 inches thick and growing. And so ice skating and ice boating. I sent a request. All right, I can talk quieter again. I sent a request to Jeff Kent. Where are you ice boating? He said, I'm going to New Hampshire. But here's an image from Nantucket this morning. He said, one of those boats is my old sail. I don't even know whose it is. So they're ice boating from Nantucket to Lake Winnipesaukee. And look at that. The breeze picking up right before my eyes as I talk about ice boating. So ice boats are propelled by air moving from high to low pressure, and they're not going to move if it's calm. So just enough wind for a beautiful ice boating day. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to participate. I mentioned I might try and get to that. So I'll leave you with just yesterday going on the ice and looking at the moon and talking about it and whatever else I had. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Steve, you enjoying the sunshine? We'll be back again tomorrow. And more. Oh, they just showed all the snow there on the ground in Buffalo. It's really turned calm here on the Fore River. Still a little breeze from the north. But you know where it's really windy? The summit of Jay Peak. It's the windiest spot in New England. So that'll be our and more. We're going to Jay, and we'll hear Tyler Jankowski, or we'll see his videos. He's a meteorologist, young meteorologist in Vermont, explaining that, well, he told me, there must have been an inversion this morning with the wind on the top of the ridge that's going off to our south, causing that wind on Jay Peak today, resulting in the flyer and the tram both not spinning. That was not part of the plan. It's called fast ice if you can walk right off the land onto the ice. And we can. And we have ice. The hockey players have gone home, but they did some shoveling, so sorry I missed it. Whitman's Pond is good probably for a next couple of weeks or a few weeks, maybe a month. And we have the full moon coming up. It's full, I think, tonight, tomorrow. Wolf moon. Pond is making some noises. So is the dog. Sorry, dog. I just had to put a hole in the ice. What kind of tracks are those? Somebody was out here with a 4x or something. And TK is out with his ruler and his axe. And I did put a hole in the ice. I'm gonna pull that out now. Do a core test. The snow is 2 inches deep. I already measured that. I should have brought my tripod to show you me getting this ice out. Look at that, looks like about 5 inches. Should I go in with my bare hands? I'm not gonna be able to pull that out. Am I? No. I need both hands. Upside down. There it is. I almost got it. Got it. Wow, really clean. Really clean ice. It's upside down, isn't it? It's about 4 inches. Let's turn it up, right side up. Yeah, it's about 4 inches. So we had really clean, clear ice there. Every time we get clean, clear ice, it snows. You can almost set your clock to it. Now we get nice, clean ice. That's what that was in southern New England. It snows. Like you can almost set your clock to it. Yep, that's about 5 inches. I get measuring devices, and there's my tools. Ready? Oh. Looks like 5, don't you think? Want to see my axe? Of course, it's got a crow on it. Yeah, I always have an axe to grind. Over and out. How can I not leave us with a snow angel on the ice in Whitman's pond? Can you just see the person that made it? Probably about 3.5 feet tall. And a time lapse of the sky over Weymouth today, with the tide coming in and then going out on the eve of the full waxing moon. Oh my goodness. The girl, not in pajamas, just put on ice skates and grabbed a hockey stick. That's awesome. You guys are good. This is so fun. All right, that's it for today. I think.